That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, when Warner Brothers got taken over and got freed from the clutches of AT&T, which practically ran that studio into the ground, one of the very first things that David Zaslav did was he appointed Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy as the head of their movie division at Warner Brothers. Two incredibly respected people in the industry. But it hasn't gone great for them on that level. I mean, and so there had been reports coming out a while ago that maybe David Zaslav might have been looking at replacing them. Well, now a brand new report has come out from the good folks over at Puck, suggesting not only is David Zaslav maybe looking at moving them out, he might be moving Peter Safran, James Gunn's co-CEO of DC, out of DC and into the head position of Warner Brothers Pictures. Now, the playlist wrote the following. Expensive creative-driven projects like George Miller's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, a movie I thought was great, but flopped. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17, a movie I quite like, but is flopping. And Paul Anderson's upcoming expensive film One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, which will also probably be awesome and not do very well at the box office, are great for audiences as in-theater choices can be limited, but this is still a business at the end of the day, and not delivering profits to the box office is going to get studio executives in trouble with a boss like David Zaslav, who is also known for being a bean counter and likes to scrap completed films for tax write-offs, as he should, which is why they're still alive and not dead. But, so there's two different issues at hand here. Moving off of Abdy and DeLuca, which again, when he brought them on, the whole industry applauded it. The whole industry applauded it. Everybody in the movie industry said, these are two very good choices. But sometimes you can make the right choices and it not work out. Kathleen Kennedy, anybody? When George Lucas handpicked her, everybody said, great choice. I did too. Great choice, but doesn't always work out, does it? So now they're talking about taking Peter Safran, James Gunn's partner at DC, and moving him to the head of Warner Brothers Studios. Now, just to be clear, because I already saw some misunderstanding about this being chatted about, that would not make Peter Safran James Gunn's boss. DC is not under Warner Brothers Studios. DC is under Warner Brothers Discovery proper. It's a totally separate division. Abdy and Luca were not James Gunn and Peter Safran's bosses. They are two separate movie divisions, each reporting directly to David Zaslav. So it would be kind of a, what do you call it when you move? A lateral move. It would be a lateral move for Peter Safran from heading up one studio under Warner Brothers to heading up another division in Warner Brothers. But still, it would be significant. I think that would speak a lot to how happy the executives at Warner Brothers Discovery are with how the new DC is coming together. Sure. But I think it would be a bad move. Look, you can disagree with me if you like, because I might be wrong about this, but nothing is more important right now to the movie future of Warner Brothers and the new DC universe launching properly and getting off to a strong start. And by start, I don't just mean this year, I mean the next 5 years. Getting off to a strong start. And I don't know if you think things are going well right now in the structure. I don't know if this is a good time to mess that up and pull Peter Safran out, because then what does James Gunn do? James Gunn publicly said the only reason, because he turned down the job before, then he said the only reason he accepted it is because they proposed having a co-CEO where the other guy can look after more of the business stuff, the mechanics. James Gunn can look after the creativity. And it was great. You take Peter Safran out of there, where does that leave James Gunn? We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, NordVPN. All right, let's be real. There's nothing worse than wanting to stream your favorite show or watch a live game only to find out it's blocked in your country. But guess what? With NordVPN, that is never a problem. With just one click, you can switch your virtual location and access content from anywhere in the world. I have loved using NordVPN. Whether I'm traveling and using public Wi-Fi or just shopping online, NordVPN keeps my personal info safe and private. By switching my location, I can even save money on flights, hotels, and subscriptions. It's like a cheat code for getting the best deals. NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, so there's no buffering when I'm streaming. Plus, their threat protection feature blocks locks, malware, trackers, and phishing attempts, keeping my devices safe 24/7. And with just one account, I can protect up to 10 devices, so my whole setup is covered. So to get the best discount on your NordVPN plan, head to nordvpn.com/John Campea, and our link will even give you 4 extra months for free on the 2-year plan. Plus, there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Links in the description. Check it out now. Anyway, so it would be a very interesting move. I would totally understand the idea of saying, you know what, Peter Safran is looking real good right now to head up our pictures, our major picture divisions. But I just don't think it's something you should mess up at the moment. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about the concept? First of all, it should be noted, DeLuca and Abdy are still the heads of Warner Brothers Pictures. And they will probably be on stage at CinemaCon in a couple of weeks presenting. But let's say they do get moved off and Zaslav wants to move on from them. Good move to move over Peter Safran from DC into Warner Brothers Pictures, or should they look outside and bring somebody else in? What would you do?
Well, first of all, the fact that he wants to bring Peter Safran over means that Superman's probably really good.
Yeah.
That's my first takeaway. But look, here's the thing. What Pam Abdy and Mike DeLuca are doing at Warner Brothers right now is exactly what they should be doing. They're forging relationships with incredible filmmakers. You look at George Miller going all the way back to Road Warrior in 1981. Came out in 82 and domestically, but they're partnering up with great filmmakers. The problem is they also have to service that whole Wall Street metric. They should not have spent $100 million on Mickey 17. They should have spent $65 million. They should have thought about it as a Joker. I mean, it's like you make Joker.
By the way, that was another disaster they had.
Well, Joker, yeah, but that's a total disaster. But the thing is, the first Joker made $1 billion with a $65 million spend. That's what they should be focusing on. But the problem is the economics, especially when Wall Street are concerned, don't work out. Because even if you make a $65 million movie that makes $400 or $500 million, they still want movies that have a $300 million profit, not just breaking even or not just. And so you're working with these incredible filmmakers, but the movies are too expensive. And the thing is, if the movies that when you're trying to take these creative, like Furiosa was, nobody could have thought that that movie would have flopped. You're going out with George Miller. If you're looking at what Fury Road did, same with Joker. You're looking at what these movies did. Fury Road was like 6 Academy Awards, and George Miller. So there was a precedent to think that you were going to win. Same with Joker. Same with Mickey 17. You got Bong Joon-ho coming off a Best Picture win for Parasite.
But that didn't make a ton of money.
No, it didn't. And that's why they shouldn't have spent $100 million making it.
100%.
And they shouldn't have spent $200 million on Joker 2. I understand why they're doing it, but if Joker 2 had cost $80 million, then maybe, it wouldn't have been such a disaster. But the problem is the amount of money that the corporate overlords are expecting to be made is skewing. What Pam Abdy and Mike DeLuca are doing is correct. Partnering up with great filmmakers to make great movies. That's what they're trying to do. But then at the same time, they're spending the kind of money thinking they're going to make the kind of returns that Wall Street is demanding, and that doesn't work. Yeah. You can't do that. You have to get those filmmakers to make you great movies. Use your tent poles to get the big dollars.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. It has to be a combination of both. That's what's killing the industry. And then you get these great creators and they're hung out to dry because who's not going to take $100 million to make your science fiction movie?
Well, to your point, let's look again at
everybody
at Furiosa. Let's look at Mad Max Furiosa. To your point, right? They spent $170 million just on the production. Like, forget about marketing and all that kind of stuff. They threw up $170 million as a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road without the 2 main stars of Mad Max Fury Road, which is fine because the movie ended up being great, but they spent $170 million. You know how much everybody, it's kind of like the Mandela effect. Everybody thinks Mad Max Fury Road, when we think of that movie, everybody thinks it was a massive box office smash. It made $380 million. It didn't even make a Black Adam. It made $380 million worldwide. You're executives, and you're saying, let's make a sequel to that, not have the 2 main stars. And if you do it for a budget of $70 million, okay, they made it for a budget of $170 million. And then we're kind of surprised when it lost money.
Well, and also because when you make something for $170 million, as we know, it's got to either make 3 or 4 times what it costs to break even. or even become in profit because of marketing costs. You're paying for studio overhead, and it's untenable. It's untenable unless you've got a Harry Potter that you know is going to make $1 billion, or a Christopher Nolan directing a Dark Knight or something like that. You've got to have both, and having both would keep a studio healthy.
But again, you got to make decisions not just based on making creative and artist-led films, but you got to do creative and artist-led films that you know will still not lose you money.
Yes.
And that's where they've kind of been dropping the ball. I mean, you know, Chris, I get it. One of Abdy and DeLuca's first mandates was because AT&T owned Warner Brothers, destroyed their relationship with all the filmmakers.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of their first priorities was rebuild our relationship with the artists.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't ignore the business side of it too.
Absolutely.
If they do move on from these two at this point, and maybe they can turn it around, maybe they can't. But if they do move on, do you like the idea of moving Peter Safran over? Do you think that would be a mistake at this point? How would you handle it?
I feel like Peter Safran would do an excellent job. You just have to find somebody then to take that place to be with Gunn so that he still has that
Right.
deal. So that you have somebody else who can help steer the ship, right? Somebody who can see the trees through the forest, all that good stuff. I really like DeLuca and Abdy. I really enjoy them. I like their whole thesis of really connecting with the artist. They did something in January, though, that very much confused me. And that was after they re-upped Josh Goldstein's contract, who is in charge of marketing.
Right.
A 3-year contract. He then got axed in January. Now, this happened amidst all the fires and everything, so it wasn't something that got widely covered, but he's best known for all of the marketing done with Barbie, Beetlejuice, all these things. But obviously, Barbie is the one that we think of what a great marketing campaign of just commerce and film and synergy coming together, right? That seemed like a really weird move because with the risky slate that they have right now, that is very kind of art house focused or taking a new direction with the DCU, you need strong marketeers. We talked about this with Mickey 17. Great film, amazing, but being marketed in a completely dog shit way.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go see a movie if no one's ever told you about it. And obviously all of us are tuned in a little bit more, but so many of the movies that are coming up on Warner Brothers slate, my parents have never heard of. They don't know about a bunch of this stuff. You're alienating so much of your audience if you're not thinking that you need to tell them about a movie. And that's a huge, huge mistake they've been making of just not marketing in a smart way. I don't know if Rachel Lodi, who was the VP, has stepped into that role. I don't know who's in there now, but I thought that was so strange to do that marketing shakeup.
Well, and
when
look
they're
at the
having such
marketing
a
from
weird
Mickey
year.
17.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey 17 marketing was
Nothing.
confusing at best, and
Yeah.
that's why it did so badly.
And you know, I would keep DeLuca and Pam Abdy because, okay, they've tried this thing, but they have other filmmakers in the wings. People like Zach Krieger, who made Barbarian. He has a movie that they've made called...
they've had wins. They've absolutely had
called
wins.
Weapon, which I would call it the Pulp Fiction of horror. I think that movie could break wide open. Not a huge, expensive movie. And if that breaks, that is exactly... If they're going to forge a relationship, and also part of Zach Krieger's team is writer-director who's doing what's he doing now? It's not Resident Evil, it's something else.
The Companion guy?
Yeah,
check it out?
the writer-director of Companion. But I think that they're poised to completely revolutionize the studio by getting some of the best up-and-coming filmmakers. They're already in business with Zach Krieger, who's doing the Resident Evil sequel or reboot.
A reboot of The Faculty.
That's what it is.
what
it is.
The
Right,
Faculty.
right, yeah.
You know, so they're poised to have all these really exciting young filmmakers to be in their stable, which is exactly what they need. And I think, look, they went with these big creators. And by the way, they didn't have a choice. It's not like somebody's going to go, yeah, you know, Todd Phillips, you might want $200 million for your Joker sequel, but that's too expensive. We're not going to give it to you. They weren't in a position to do that. I mean, Todd Phillips was in the driver's seat. He got everything he wanted to make that movie.
Yeah, that's what happens when you give a filmmaker too much leeway.
And
too much
so
power.
I would say let them get Pam Abdy, Mike DeLuca 2.0 because they're poised to turn Warner Brothers around. And if Superman is great, you know, I know,
But that doesn't go to them. That's James
I know,
Gunn.
but it's still a Warner Brothers movie.
Right, but it's not under Abdy and Luca.
No,
right?
I understand that, but it's the studio. You know, high tide raises all ships, and I think they've got stuff on their slate. I don't know if Francis Lawrence's The Long Walk is Warner Brothers, but that's based on that movie's gonna kick ass too.
All right. So listen, we could talk about this a long time, but we've been on this topic a little bit too long. But the question is for you guys. What do you think will happen here? And do you think that if they do move on from Abdy and DeLuca, and they have done some good things, they have rebuilt the studio's reputation with filmmakers after AT&T's debacle. They have done that. They have delivered some big wins. Chris was pointing out Barbie. But they've also made some big business mistakes. Do you move on? And if so, do you move Peter Safran over? Or do you like, no, it's too soon to do that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.